Thank you, Jack. I haven't said anything important yet, so it's all good. Okay, we are recording. I meant to do that earlier. Thank you. So yeah, music videos are part of kind of a large landscape of things you can do video wise. Um, some of the easier stuff is let's see if that's a oh yeah. Speaking of Sully, is the video Zoom MTG still on? Sorry guys, making sure there's not a problem with one of the links. All right. Um, some of the other things that you can do now is just like live streaming video from your phone, which is not a music video per se, but it kind of counts as something that you put out there for your fans and stuff like that, or anyone that's willing to listen. There's also like behind the scenes stuff that you can throw together. Oh, really weird. Well, guys, let me see why people are having problems. Sully or Kevin cannot get into the thing. Let me see why. Uh, All right. Where was I? Oh yeah. So uh, there's lots of types of videos you can put out, like behind the scenes videos, which is just like if you're setting up for a show, you can just have your phone out and be like, "Hey, we're setting up for a show." I think when people think about music videos, they really think about the very meticulously put together production of a piece of music that is married to a piece of visual art, and that can take a lot of different forms, and that takes a lot more consideration about what you're doing, and there's quite a rabbit hole that can go down in terms of how much effort and time and money you want to put into producing that video. But there is a lot of really easy ways of doing it too. um, One of the easiest ways is, we've talked about this when we were talking about the demo recording, is your phone. Most phones have a 4K camera built in, and yes, it's not the greatest camera on the planet in terms of making a music video, but it's definitely something that is usable in that context. You can get some cheap editing software, or even professional software is available monthly. So you could rent it for 1 month, sign up for 1 month, or even just the trial period and make a music video for practically free using professional tools. Now, it is a bit of a learning curve on a lot of that software, so it can take you a while if it was something that you wanted to do DIY. But learning a little bit about editing video, for those that haven't done it very much yet, is pretty handy. It comes in more handy than you might think. Again, talking about some of the other kinds of videos you can put out, if you know a little bit about video editing, you can add some flair to behind the scenes stuff. You can make your streamed shows or off the cuff online shows look a little bit nicer. And then there's just tons of little you can put out teaser videos for things. Oh yeah, DaVinci Resolve is free. I forget that's free, and actually it's pretty good too. Pretty good software. So yeah, there's a plethora of tools and stuff available to work with. It's just a matter of kind of getting your hands on stuff and really working with the medium. You know, the main learning curve, I guess, would be just like cutting and how you put stuff together and stuff like that. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's kind of dissect what a music, how you put together a basic music video. The most basic kind of music video there is a performance video, and a performance video typically involves multiple angles of the band performing the song or the artist performing the song. It's not necessarily a band. Sometimes it's an acoustic player or something like that. And that could be in a variety of locations, a variety of settings. One setting that just looks really, really cool. This a really simple music video would be like, there's this really cool, weird industrial looking building in the middle of town that is abandoned. We can just go set up in front of that and guerrilla film a music video. And I've done stuff like that a ton of times, and it looks really good. Ends up looking pretty cool. A basic shot list for something like that, and a shot list is just a list of shots you want to get. A lot of people think you go, okay, we want this shot of this drummer at this time. That's going to take you forever to plan if you do it that way. The easiest way to go is, let's get an entire shot of the drummer in this place from the beginning of the song to the end of the song. And then you can decide which moments to use later. But if you're on location, it's best to just get as much stuff as you can as possible. So almost all the time, almost every time, if I'm going to be doing a performance take, whether it's the vocalist or the bass player or anybody, once I get done setting up the shot, I'm going to do it from the beginning of the song to the end of the song, the whole thing. Because I may have an idea of where I want to use that in the song, but it's nice to be able to change my mind later if I, in the editing process, decide, this is not really working. I need some more options. If you have, 10 different shots of all the same moment in the song, you have a lot more choices for that spot if something doesn't look quite right or whatever. So, I would say like 2 takes of each person in each spot is a good starting place for a music video. And that gives you 8, for a typical 4-piece band, that gives you 8 to 10 if you have 5 members shots. Typically I will do the vocalist maybe 3 or 4 more times in a couple different settings or a couple different camera angles, things like that, just to give some variety, but just because the vocalist ends up, visually being in the shot quite a lot. And so to give some variety, so it's not just the same one vocalist shot, is kind of nice. And then, being able to pop over to the guitar player, pop over the bass player at any moment where it feels like a good time to do that, and then pop back. That's kind of why I would do that many shots, 10 to 12, maybe somewhere in there, giving some extra vocalist ones. So that's just a basic performance video. The next one after that is a performance video with B-roll, or a storyline, if you will. And that's where you have mainly a performance video, but you have maybe some other elements that are not performance as part of the video. And some really simple ones that you can do is like the band setting up, the band goofing off, like just hanging out, and just candid shots, random stuff like that. You can have behind the scenes stuff from if you were recording in the studio, you have behind the scenes footage. You can use some of that in the music video to give some context, to just give some personality to the members of the band and stuff like that. Anything like that is really good to just throw in as B-roll, and it doesn't have to be story related or coherent as a story in that sense. The one after that is you do have a story or elements of a story, even just some kind of imagery. There was a music. Oh yeah, I should have set this up for it. Maybe I can. We'll do a little. Wait, maybe this is not quite set up right for that. Let me try this. If it doesn't work the first time, then I won't bother. I'm gonna play a music video I made a while ago with one of my students, and it's got a very short sort of storyline in it, and it's kind of a good example of. Oh wait, no, it is not on this. Never mind, it's not on this hard drive. Well, you guys just have to imagine it, I guess. Anyway, so the storyline part is. It could be really simple. It could be something that's like, just a few scenes. In the video I was going to show you, it's basically this girl running through the whole video, and she's running through the rain, she's running through puddles, and then towards the end of this video, she ends up at this house. She knocks on the door, and the singer gets up to answer the door, and when he opens the door, she's not there, and it's a different place. So it's just, you know, sort of a questiony, like, in based on the lyrics of the song, you know, kind of was like, is she coming back to him? Is she not? Where's she going? Like, it kind of leaves a lot more questions than answers, and the ambiguity there was sort of the idea. So it wasn't really supposed to be necessarily a story so much as just like imagery that matched the song and gave you sort of a sense of, you know, like a little bit of questioning about what was going on. And some ambiguous imagery like that can sell some stuff like that too. Then you have like storylines that are a little bit more blatant. You could have, you know, especially if it's like a love song, you could have the literal things that are happening in the lyrics happen in the video. It's not my favorite kind of video. I like things that are a little bit more less obvious, but it, you know, for certain kinds of songs and for certain kinds of videos, it can for sure work. And I've done some videos that had very, very strong narratives. And there's one video I did that had like a, you know, 1.5 minute opening dialogue, you know, with 3 actors. It was like this sort of campy horror style video. And the premise of the story was that this witch summoned all these random creatures that they all fought in the middle, and then there was this it ended up being like this girl was dreaming the whole time. So it was like this really, really intricate like story, basically a movie, with the video. And there was performance footage too, and they were kind of going mixed in with that. So the band was actually performing behind this huge battle scene. It was really fun to film. But the main premise was the story. It was more about that than it was the performance. Another music video I was involved when I wasn't filming the video, but it was for one of my bands. The director had a lot of these. So the basic premise was, the story was that there was the guys versus the girls kind of a thing. The band had 2 singers. There was a guy singer and a girl singer. And so all the guys were on the girls singer side and all the girls were on the guy singer side, just to be funny, I guess. But anyway, it was like a rival gang thing. So it was like a post-apocalyptic, like, you know, rival wasteland type of video. And there was also a battle scene in that, but there was all kinds of other little scenes. Like there was a negotiation scene. There was like all these things where, you know, it didn't really tell a direct story, but it kind of hinted at like these 2 factions going back and forth and fighting each other and stuff like that. So again, it was more about the imagery. It was more about the sort of imagination, kind of letting things go. But there was still a lot of really specific mini stories kind of throughout that whole idea. So in terms of like and there was lots of performance footage too. So it was still in that same thing. There was lots of vocal performance because it's a vocal band more. It's kind of like a hip hop rock metal fusion thing. So there was a lot of vocal performances, lots of them at every location. There's like 8 different vocal takes for each vocalist. And so it was, you know, mostly about that performance video, but then you had all this massive amounts of B-roll story kind of mixed in over the top of that. Past that, you know, the performance / B-roll, then you have an entire narrative video or an entire imagery video, kind of both in the same realm. This is a choice more than none of these are really better or worse than the other. These are just kind of some of the styles of music videos that you can do. This was definitely one of the harder ones because it takes the most planning, especially in terms of the length of the song and which moments happen when and how you plan for that. I've done some actually one of my earlier videos was really fun. It was this band called Locomotive, who's I don't think they're much older than you guys, even still. I think they're maybe like 18, 19, but at the time they were like 15. Great band. And that we did this music video, and they were like, yeah, we don't really have much in the way of ideas. Do you have any ideas? I'm like, I have an idea for a video I wanted to do for a while, where it's just pure narrative, and it's like this old cop drama, like black and white. And we did the whole thing, and all these cliches, all, every single costume, and it was kind of a production. It was really fun to do. But there was no performance footage at all. No one sang anything. No one played anything. It was a narrative story that went along, and it didn't even really match the lyrics in terms of the context of the story. It just was an interesting video that went along with the song. And sometimes that departure can add a different layer, just because they were a little bit punk rock. They're a little bit rebellish in the way that they put music together. So being a little bit off kilter with the music video kind of made sense for them. In that same vein, there's also imagery, and a friend of mine's video. She's a electronic artist, and she doesn't have any lyrics at all, and it's all ambient electronic music. And so for her video, obviously there's not going to be any performance footage, because there's not a lot to perform under that context. I mean, other than playing the keyboards and stuff like that. But it's more interesting to have something that felt more imagery based because of the style of music. It's, very soundscape, movements and stuff like that. So we ended up doing like this water versus fire type of thing. So there's all these scenes where she's like wet, crawling through this like concrete tunnels and things we found out in Fort Worden. And then there's fire, where she's like got this red jacket on, and her makeup's all intense, and she's got this posse of people that hang out with her. So it was kind of like the low down personality, the personality part that tells you you're worthless, and then the overconfident personality, and she'd separated herself from that, and was trying to get rid of it. So it was more about like the imagery there than anything really specific narrative wise. Anyway, so that's the different kinds of styles of videos. Obviously, on a practical level, planning for those videos can be a thing. Shot lists and stuff like that are a little bit different. You kind of want to have a lot of different takes of the moments that you're going to be using, or in that sense. You can also drill down and be like, storyboard, and this is exactly what happens when it happens. I've done a few of those. It's a lot of work, but for certain kinds of narratives and for certain kinds of videos, it can be really helpful, just to really kind of get your hand around that. All right, well, that's the premise of music videos and the kinds that you can make. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody questions so far? Guess it's just a quiet bunch. All right. Well, let's talk about a little bit about what we're going to be doing on the 25th and 26th when we film at Jazz Bones. So we have rented some cameras, and we have hired a few extra camera crew people. And the main thing we're doing is capturing a live performance on video. And we're also going to record the audio. So that's all going to be set up ahead of time. If your band shows up practiced and ready to go, as soon as you load in and plug in, we should get the live performance in one take, as if it was a show. That is the idea. So hopefully that's the way that goes. If you need to do another take, we can do another take if you want. The rest of the time, which is about 2.5 hours total, is meant to be used to make a music video. And the easy part is going to be getting the performance footage, because we'll have extra cameras, so we can do performance footage from the stage and grab close-ups of everybody, grab a couple different angles of the singer, and we can get all that performance footage knocked out really, really fast. Then we can do other performance footage in a different location. As opposed to being on the stage, we can go outside somewhere of Jazz Bones, We can use some of the upstairs stuff. I asked Jazz Bones if we can use some of the upstairs to film in. We basically have a run of the place in terms of filming in, around, and outside of Jazz Bones. We won't be able to travel anywhere else. So just because of time restrictions, we won't have time to move camera equipment over there and back. But that said, if there's narrative things you guys can think of besides the performance footage, and I would say, like for every band, I would say let's plan on at least 2 locations, one on the stage and then one somewhere around, either with just the vocalist or with the whole band. And that's kind of up to you guys. I would do at least one with the vocalist in a different location just to give some variety. And also make it more like a music video rather than a live video, because it will look like a live video if the only thing we have is the stage footage. Then there's this narrative stuff. And again, like that can be pretty much whatever you guys want and whatever we can film in that time. I would not get too ambitious with that. It takes a lot longer than you might think to film narrative. Now that said, if you have like some actors or actresses that you want to bring with you, 1 or 2, not too many because of COVID stuff. You can bring 1 or 2 people to be guests in your music video, and we can film some stuff outside in and around Jazz Bones as narrative stuff. The thing you want to think about in regards to that is what is going to have the biggest impact with the least amount of time to do so. Because like I said, this is not a full production. This is not a 10 hours filming just the one band. We are doing 3 bands on each day, and we have to have a half hour in between to sanitize and air out the venue. So that 2.5 hour mark is hard cut. So as soon as we get to that mark, it's like, well, whatever we filmed, and that's going to be what's in your music video. And I'll be doing the editing on these, so I'll do the best I can. But yeah, if you come with a plan, you come prepared to do stuff, and you can talk to your mentors and your bandmates about what you want to do with that. But we can do whatever you guys can think of in that time. So that's a big part of what this meeting's about, is really to get you thinking about what you can accomplish in that time. Kevin just asked if bands should come with a shot list. That is optional. It can help. What I would say is at least an outline. If you have an idea in mind and it's complicated, you should have an outline of what that is. A lot of times it's called the treatment. A specific shot list is, I don't know how necessary that will be in given the time. Just because, if it's like really narrative, then maybe have shot list for that narrative. If it's like this person's talking to this person, then you need shot A, shot B, the stuff that you would want for that. But half of the shot list is already done in the performance stuff. So we already have that shot list set up because it's just going to be the same for every band. It's on the same stage. So getting that first set of shot lists is going to be pretty easy. And then will be handheld and improvisational for the next set of performance shots. And I'll be doing those, and I've done tons and tons and tons of those. So we don't need a shot list for that. But if there's some really specific narrative stuff or really specific kinds of shots you want, like I said, more of just an outline or maybe even storyboard if anyone's good at drawing, that would be good. But yeah, like if we go really, really detailed with the amount of time, it may get a little tedious and we may lose the opportunity for some stuff. The best approach, I would say, is be prepared to kind of improvise and shoot as we go. Just from the standpoint of, it's really hard to anticipate where things are going to be in the building unless you go scope it out ahead of time. And I know some of you guys have been there a bunch of times, so maybe you can think about that. Or outside, and getting the exact shot that we want is takes a little bit of time. So it's a lot of it's going to be a little bit of like, I think that's going to work, and like, let's move this way. All right, move that way. All right, perfect. Shoot, and go. Again, just because of the amount of time we have. We want to get the gist of whatever it is you guys think of, without spending too much time on specifics. So kind of a balance between the two, I would say, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so that's really what we're going to be doing for that. Um, not really a lot else to talk about. I don't know if my buddy's going to be in here. Let's talk a little bit about um, what a music video should do for you. Um, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of reasons why having a music video is really important. Um, I'll give you a story from one of my clients, who I just did another music video for. So he hired me to do this live video when I very first started doing music videos years ago. And at the time, I was really just trying to break into the industry, which is kind of hard because there's very short lists of people in the local area that really get called to do the music videos, and you kind of have to have a decent portfolio of material that you've done in order for people to pay you money for it. That's kind of how that works. The same thing, like if you were, hiring a producer or going to a studio, you would want to know like who that producer had worked with and who that studio recorded and listened to it, so that you'd make sure that the quality you're going to get is going to be somewhere in there. So again, this is for forever ago. Um, I missed a question. How much time should you plan for filming to make a 3-minute video? That is a really complicated question. It really depends on what you do. I have done 4 days of filming for one 5-minute music video. And we could have done more. And as a matter of fact, the client might still want to go back and redo some stuff. And that's the same kind of thing as when you're recording stuff. You can always go back and do more. You can always reshoot something, fix something that you didn't like. There's really not an end to that. I would say is really limited by the amount of time, money, and patience that you have, and whatever constraints you have on when that video's got to be done, or what it's for, if it's worth it to you. I have for sure gone back and redone shots or added shots, or like a music video I did really recently for a record company. I put it together. I'd gotten all these shots. We went down to LA. We shot at 3 different locations in LA over the course of 3 days. And then I got back and it was like close. And luckily I'm in the band and so is my girlfriend. So to fill in some of that gaps, we just set up right here and just did some flashy, like more visual oriented shots, performance shots. It's just kind of sprinkle in some other movement. And that sort of took the video to kind of the level I was hoping it would get, where it didn't seem as samey. I didn't have as many shots as I hoped I would. There was a lot of really good, interesting shots, but because we were time pressed at each location, we didn't get a lot of shots. And so, to really drill into how much time should you plan for a 3-minute video, I mean, you can do a 3-minute video in 3 minutes if it's only one camera, and that's all you're doing. I did one video, and this is a totally different topic, but this is a cool idea. There are other ways to do music videos besides, there's weird ways, and some of those weird ways can take a lot of time, and some of them don't take that much time. And one of the weird ways I did a music video once was we slowed the song down to about half and the band played in one shot, and then we sped it back up again. And so we did 2 takes and that was it. So it took like a half an hour to film. It was a little prep and it was a little editing afterwards, but it didn't really take that long. It was just an interesting concept and just made a cool looking video. It wasn't the most over the top video ever, but it had this weird energy to it because everyone's movements was a little bit more jolty, a little bit more intense because of the differential in time as we did that. And then you have music videos like OK Go, which take forever to set up and really figure out because it's such a logistics nightmare. The one with all the pianos, the choreography on the treadmills. If any of you have seen OK Go videos, they are masterpieces of music video. Um, they're well, I should say masterpieces in the sense of like how over the top complicated they are. And there's a bunch of videos that have some really 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 complicated big giant productions that can take months to film and edit and stuff like that. So again, kind of come back to your original question, it really depends on how much you want, on what you want to do. If you want like action sequence with explosions and cars and stuff like that, then that's going to take a whole production. Most music videos, I would say, if you plan on one solid day of filming, you can usually get everything you need for, again, most music videos. Especially like regular performance videos. If you want a couple different locations, some really cool angles of everyone in there, you can end up with 20 to 30 performance shots from all the band members in different locations, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. Just because you end up using moments of those shots and those angles in different ways. And for example, like you can have two shots of the singer that are basically the same shot. Just one is closer up and one's farther away. So one could be like a wide shot where she or he is in front of the band, and the other one could be like close up on her face. And a lot of times, if you do that at the same time, if you have two cameras, which is nice, you still have two shots, so to speak. It's of the same shot. It's just two different, zoom levels, I guess. So a lot of stuff like that can like add up on your overall shot list too. Now, if you needed to do that individually, if you only have one camera, then that's going to add time. So again, depending on how much stuff you have. But anyway, so back to what I was talking about, why you would want to have a music video and what you use it for. It's a balancing act, and I'll say, sort of detrimentally to my own career as a music video maker, it's not something you should spend a whole bunch of money on unless you know it's going to get you something. And I'll go back to the story I was about to tell about my client. Again, so years ago when I started making music videos, I gave him a sweet deal because I'm trying to build my portfolio. And we did this live video where he was in the studio recording, and then we filmed that. And I charge him very, very little just to, get something on my resume and help him out. He was an acoustic guy. And a couple of weeks ago, we filmed another music video in this lake or river and with a waterfall, and like it was a big water theme thing. We found a boat. We got on a big sailboat, and he did a couple performance takes on the sailboat. But during that filming, he was like, "Yeah, man, I really appreciate the video. It was such a good investment. I took that and I sent that to all these wineries and breweries and all these places, and then I went on tour for like 6 months. I made about 12 grand, which isn't a lot, but for one music video, that's a pretty good return on investment. And the reason why he got a lot of those gigs is because he looked professional. He looked like his representation of himself was a professional representation. It wasn't a cell phone video shot in front of nobody at a crappy looking bar, and that's his audition video, which as someone who's known a lot of people that have owned venues, you'd be surprised how many times a band sends a video like that as their, hey, you should bring us in, that happens all the time. So having something that is more representative or representational of what you want to sound like, of what you or do sound like, or what you do look like and sound like, the best possible version of your band or your artist, is the reason why to have at least one really well done music video done by somebody who knows what they're doing with good gear and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be over the top, but at least investing a little bit into something that looks really good will get you a little bit farther than something that's just basic. And there's no saying you couldn't do that on your own. It's a lot of work to figure out how to get it looking to that level, but it's honestly like almost anything is better than what a lot of bands send in. Like I said, just the one cell phone shot, crappy audio, they didn't even bother replacing the audio, that type of thing. um, is pretty common for bands to represent themselves that way, and it's not helpful. It doesn't get you very far, and it comes from two different sources. I would say, like, bands that are like, I'll just send in a video and see what happens. What's the harm? And bands that just don't care that much in the first place. Now, as far as the first one, the oh well, we got this, I'll just send it in and see what happens. The thing you have to keep in mind is that first impression with that club owner or promoter, or other band, if you're putting it online and other bands are seeing it, or fans, um, they're less likely to look at the next thing you have, even if it is more professional or looks better. um, so it is something to consider early on in a project, at least when you start to really send out a lot of stuff, to have that piece of the puzzle in place, can save some time. Because if they look at if anyone looks at the video, they go, wow, this sounds great, this looks awesome. Because you might have studio audio from a recording studio on top of a 4K well shot video that looks really good, and everyone's performing really, really well in it. If you have all those pieces of the puzzle in one package, a music video, it's really easy to sell your band in a lot of different situations, or at least sell the next step of whatever that is. For example, like if you're talking to a record label, if you have all the numbers in place, but you also send them this music video that's got good audio, good song, good video, shows that you guys can perform, shows what you look like, shows how you represent yourselves. That says most of what you need to say. And from that point on, you don't really need as much talking. You don't need to like, yeah, we're really awesome, we're really big in Australia. You don't have to say as much stuff, because you have a forward piece of the puzzle already representing you out there already. Yeah. So another thing that a music video can do, I'm going to take a sip of water because I am talking nonstop. Another thing a music video can do is get you exposure. And I know there is a long history of, yeah, man, do it for the exposure of, that's not really a good reason to do much in the music business. But there is a certain amount that you have to do. And no matter how long you've been playing, or how many bands you've been in, if it's a new project, you kind of got to pay some dues and get the word out. And, it costs a little bit up front to create a new project and to promote it. On the back end, it can, you can pay yourself back with some of the shows that you can get and stuff like that, by gaining some fans that may want to see you based on the video. And that's kind of the thing, is if you put out a video correctly, with a press release and distribution and all that stuff, you are much more likely to gain fans than if you just put out your album. Much more likely, as a matter of fact. People are not just discovering music based on just randomly finding people on Spotify as much, not that they don't, but not as much as finding a music video circulating YouTube, or I think even Spotify is circulating music videos that are connected to songs there. But yeah, so the video part will engage a person faster, because then they can see, does this look like an artist I might like? Because we hear with our eyes as much as we hear with our ears, and it solidifies the artist in their brain in terms of, like, there's imagery and attitudes and representation of culture, and whatever that culture is. Just there is always a culture associated with people in a band. So whatever kinds of elements that band encompasses will be visually represented by a music video. And if someone is a fan of those types of things, then they are more likely to be a fan of your music, if those elements are visually represented in your music video, as opposed to just the audio, right? Just the music can be part of a genre or a culture or things that they may be a fan of, but there could be specific elements. For example, like if someone is a big fan of metal, they may not like a band as much that dressed in like Hawaiian shirts and played metal. They might be like, I don't know about this, man. But if they saw you in the, the metal garb and the hair and the makeup and all that stuff, they'd be like, yes, I enjoy that. Or even just like uh, if you play acoustic songs, but you are painted all goth, might not match up as well. But if you're, you got like a nice hat and you're on a beach somewhere, that's kind of the mood that's this person might like, and they see that, and then they remember that is associated with that more than if they just heard the song. So that's kind of the idea there. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody at all, please. Anybody? Should I just tell like a embarrassing story or something? Okay, I'm telling an embarrassing story. All right, music video shoot I was at. I had just gotten a drone, my first drone, and my girlfriend at the time, or she's still my girlfriend, but at the time we'd only been dating for a couple of months. And I was like, hey, check out my drone, trying to impress her. And I flew it over some water, and I'm just flying around, and it looks gorgeous. And all of a sudden the drone was like, lost contact with GPS, landing. I'm like, no, don't land. No, you're over water. No. And it just went right into the drink. It was like a $500 drone. Just the worst part though is I had used the drone all day for like chasing motorcycles for a music video. So there's all this awesome footage of like flying past motorcyclists on this back, sort of woodsy highway, and those shots were really hard to get because it was my first drone, so I wasn't really good at flying it yet. And we got all these great shots, and I was really happy with it. And then all the footage was on the drone that I sank into the drink, so we didn't get any of it. Didn't use any of it. It really sucked. Yeah, okay, so I've told an embarrassing story. Anybody have any questions? Going once. Going twice. All right, so just as a reminder, ooh, I hear a vocals.
It's unmuted. It's unmuted.
Kevin, did you have a question? I guess not. Accidental unmute. So let me look this up. While I'm double checking.
I do have a question.
I have an answer.
So I was thinking it might be cool to get lighting behind us so we just look like silhouettes.
Okay.
Is there a way to do that at Jazz Bones?
There is. So there's a bunch of backlighting already set up, and there's a fog machine in there. We should be able to handle that, no problem.
Awesome.
Yeah. For the live show, it's going to be a little bit more just kind of what we can do. But when we start doing the music video portion of it, that's when we'll be able to mess with the lighting, I think, a little bit more. I need to double check to find out if there is going to be a lighting guy there besides the guy who is also the sound guy. That's kind of the reason why I think the sound guy normally does the lights also. So since we're going to be recording the sound, it's more important that we focus mostly on that for the show. But I'm going to see if I can get a lighting guy too to kind of liven things up as well for the live show.
All right.
But since for the music video, you're going to be playing along with your recording from London Bridge, so that it matches tempo and matches everything that you're doing. Then we don't have to worry about the sound as much because you're just playing along with the recording as it was. So we can do a lot more with that. Oh, I don't have a filming schedule yet, do I? I thought I did.
Hey, Skye.
Yes.
So I'm a little confused here. Are you recording live sound for some of the video, or are you using the London Bridge recording?
So let me clarify. It's both. So the first thing we do is we do the live final show, and that's the show that will play on August 29th for the final show. Okay, and the sound, the backline, the cameras will all be set up already. So it won't take long for most bands to come in, set up, and perform their final show with minimal sound check because the drums will be ready to go and all that stuff. The Then we also record stuff for a music video that will air later this year after we do some editing. So instead of doing a CD release show, we're going to be doing a music video release online thing. Because we actually won't be doing a CD. We'll be releasing the songs online through CD Baby, but not pressing any, just because there's only going to be 6, and it's part of it. But also, not a lot of people buy CDs anymore, so it's not really too much of a reason to do the pressings. But instead of that, we're going to do the music videos as a part of the release, and so it's going to take a little time to edit the videos. So the live videos will be done, really fast because it's just going back and forth between a couple of different angles for the live video. The music videos will take quite a bit of time each video, depending on how much different kinds of things we have. So those part of the video will air probably November sometime, I think. So
Okay,
does that answer your question?
so the band, well, almost. So the band should include the song they're recording at London Bridge in their final set, so they can get live shots to use in the music video.
It is entirely up to them. That will save some time. If they prefer to do a different song for the music video, that's totally fine too, because the stage is still there, And so for the performance footage, either way, I'm going to want to get different shots of like the drummer and different angles of the vocalist and stuff like that. That may be things that are on stage that we couldn't do with just the normal live set. Now that said, some of the if the song that we do the music video for is also part of the live set, yeah, we'll already have those ready to go, as long as the drummer is playing to a click. If the drummer is not playing to a click, it will not be possible to use that footage because it won't be lined up.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and I know Sully's really, really solid on time, but it's just a pain in the ass to move stuff around even a little bit to line up live footage with locked footage, I guess would be the term.
Yes. Got it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I hope that makes sense to everybody else. So yeah, I thought I put it. Oh, you know what? I probably emailed it. Let me double check that. I thought I had done a filming schedule. I did. I know I did. I'm just gonna put the. Oh, sent. There we go. Yes. All right. So the actually, I may need to change that. I'll find out. As of right now, the filming schedule is August 25th at 12 p.m. at Jazz Bones is Walkout. August 25th at 3 p.m. is Stargazy Pie. August 25th at 6 p.m. is Mother Superior. August 26th, the next day at 12 p.m. is Yo-Yo Booth. August 26th at 3 p.m. is Devil's Angels. August 26th at 6 p.m. is Elastic. And all of that is at Jazz Bones. I know the schedule that I put out says Louis G's on the 25th. It is not going to be at Louis G's for filming that, just because there's going to be so much camera equipment to move around between the two locations. It just made more sense to have everything at one location because it's a lot. All right. If no one else has any questions, thank you guys for joining.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
Okay, are we supposed to have like a general idea of like stuff that we want to do in our music video, or have any of that planned, or what?
There's two things. We can come up with stuff on the fly. I have done lots of that. If you have no idea what to do for your music video, or extra stuff for your music video, we can come up with some things. There's a number of locations around there and little alleyways and things like that where we can just set up and guerrilla shoot some extra footage. Um, and um, and again, a lot of for these types of music videos, we don't have to go too crazy. We don't have a lot of time to shoot anyway. So if your band has absolutely no idea, we will still make it look really, really cool, um, without having to worry about it too much. And even if you just have like a couple ideas, um, if you want to focus more about how you perform or how you dress, that's perfectly fine too. And then just trust in the director as to make you guys look good. If you want to get creative with some ideas about what your music video looks like, and you know little things like, we want this fisheye shot that's really down low that we look really hip hop, or we want this like shot where we follow the singer out to the street and we do it in like a one shot type of thing for the opening of the song. There's all kinds of little things you can come up with if you want to. So this portion of the program isn't super important that you have like, perfect, because there's always fallbacks, but it is an opportunity if you wanted to take advantage of it to come up with some interesting ideas. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. And Kevin asked if I'm going to produce at London Bridge. Yes, I will be there all 3 days, and we will be working with Jeff as an engineer, and I'll be in the producer seat, working with everybody at the London Bridge. I booked myself a Airbnb a couple miles away because I don't want to have to travel back and forth for 3 days. So that's gonna be a nice little mini work vacation for me. I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm actually really excited to work with all the bands in that way. I think it's gonna be really fun. So, all right, anyone else? All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for listening to me yap about music videos. The next thing we'll have, I think, isn't until next week. Let me double check that. Yeah, we don't have anything until we are recording at London Bridge next week. So a week from today, we'll have our first London Bridge session. So hopefully, you guys are getting all prepared, getting all your songs in shape, ready to record, and we'll see you guys then. All right, bye.